Welcome back to another episode of this YouTube live series where I have fun and insightful conversations with other online business owners and entrepreneurs. These conversations, hopefully, are packed with golden nuggets of information and inspiration to help you grow your online business in a way that feels good for you. Okay, so if you're watching us live, please hit that thumbs up button really quick. Also, if you're watching the replay, the thumbs up button, just hit it. It means a lot for the YouTube algorithm and gets my videos pushed out to new people. It's just a simple click and it really does go a long way. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you get notified every time I go live and every time I push out a new video, which is typically around every other week. Okay, so today's topic, I'm super, super excited about it. It's going to be all about creating a social media marketing strategy without the stress, because social media marketing, it can get a lot. It can get overwhelming. We have so many platforms. We have so many different kinds of content. So how do we simplify it? Okay, so I'm going to be chatting with Bruno, and we're going to be talking about simplifying your approach to social media marketing, ditching the content pillars and focusing on something even more crucial, refining consistency and getting more juice out of your social media content. Okay, because when we're creating content, we know that it can take some time. We're trying to get the most juice out of it, the most bang for our buck here. Okay, so before we get into the interview, I did want to talk about the sponsor really quick. So the sponsor of this video is the Contract Shop. Okay, so I am just going to share my screen here. So the Contract Shop, it's your one-stop shop for any contract or legal template that your online business needs. You can use the code Mariah Magazine at checkout to get 20% off of your next contract. So you can head over to mariahmagazine.com/contracts. You'll be taken to this cute little page and you can click right on this button here. That will take you over to the Contract Shop. So they have literally all different kinds of contract templates for all different kinds of things. Art commission, assistant coach, coaching templates. They have copywriter agreements, like all of these. You can spend some time taking a look at all of the options here. You can filter them by field, which is very, very helpful. They also have terms and conditions, which if you just go to mariahmagazine.com/contracts, and if you scroll down, you'll see my personal favorite contracts. This is, which one is it? The bundle. This is the one that I use on my own website. It literally it makes me feel so good knowing that my website and my content on there is protected. It's definitely worth it. If you wanted to check that out, you can get 20% off of all of the contracts on this website by using the code Mariah Magazine. So let's close out of there and let's get ready to dive into the interview here. Okay, so let me close out. Jess is currently backstage. We're going to bring her on and we're going to have some fun conversations, y'all. Hello, welcome to the YouTube Live.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I didn't give too much of your background. I kind of just sprinkled out like the topic and what we're going to be talking about. Do you just want to catch the people up? Like, what do you do and like, how do you typically support people?
Sure. So, I am a content strategist. So, what that means is that I build out content calendars, content strategies, and I help small business owners know what to post, when to post, and why to post it. I only work with female founded small business owners because that's my specialty, that's my niche. I've worked with over 200 over the last 2 years, and I help my girlies not only grow their pages but convert their content into clients and sales.
Yeah, I think that's so important, especially in like the world of social media, because like we can easily fall into this rabbit hole of like creating content just for followers, but like it's not about the followers, it's about the conversions. So like what are your thoughts on that? Like what's the different strategy, or like how can people start shifting their perspective to go from like creating a social media content strategy that's like about virality and just like getting more followers versus like getting conversions?
Mm. It's something this if you've been on Instagram or TikTok one time, you've already created accounts saying you're a small business owner, you would have seen an aesthetic marketing girly telling you how they grew 30,000 followers over 3 days using this one easy trick. Like, it's everywhere. It's a pandemic, and it can make you feel like you're doing everything wrong. Like, oh, but I've posted all this stuff and I've not got 30,000 followers in 3 days. What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
When you start tracking followers instead of community, instead of conversions, instead of that stuff, you can get really stuck in the mud when it comes to your business, and it makes content feel like the heaviest piece of the pie when really it's only a slither. So, for example, with the sponsor of this video, having your contract sorted is so much more important than the Instagram post you wanted to do about something educational because it's Tuesday at 12 o'clock. But that's the stuff that we can busy ourselves with and put all our like contract stuff to the back burner. But followers, you know, if you're a new business, and I'm saying 1 year in, typically you've had a few posts, or you've done like 20 posts, and you're still feeling like you're not getting far enough. It's from the people that I've worked with, it's most likely because they're tracking the wrong metrics for where they are in their business. Tracking followers from the beginning isn't a sustainable strategy to follow, because it's just heartbreaking. Because people are signing up to these platforms every single day. You're not the only person who does what you do. So you're in a lot of competition, and it's really hard to stand out. And in your first year, and there are always exceptions to the rule, but the majority of people in their first year won't hit that magical 10,000 followers, won't get 30,000 followers in 3 days, because it's just not like that. Most small businesses don't have a background in marketing. You don't know what to do. So instead, in the first year or 2 years of your business, instead of tracking followers, I want you to start tracking conversions, whether that's conversations you've had in the DMs or sales you've had of your product or service.
Yeah, I think just really kind of like taking a look and maybe even like tracking the impact, or like looking at it as like a way to like build community, looking at it as a way like this is what's helped me personally and kind of kept me motivated when I wasn't seeing like the numbers or even the conversions that I wanted, right? It was more so of like, how can I use this as a platform, since social media is free? How can I use this free platform to express myself? Like, if I'm super amped up about my business and I'm super stoked about like how I serve people, how can I relay that information with taking the pressure off? And I think that like that's really the juice of social media, is that like we get to connect with so many different people. What if we stopped focusing on the numbers, which can help take the pressure off, and instead focus it on like, what do I want to share? How do I want to share it? And like create the content and just let it go, versus like holding on to the expectation. You know what I mean? Like the expectation can crush your motivation.
It really can. And I've worked with clients who've had 500 followers. I've worked with the clients who've had 500,000 followers. They all want, in the wrong mindset, they all want the same thing. They all want more followers, more numbers, more likes, more comments. They all want more and more and more, and it never feels like it's enough. Where that person with they say exactly the same things to me, whether they've got 500 or 500,000, but they're not tracking their impact, and that's the problem, and that's what can stunt your growth as a business owner. In the bank, that's the most important metric to follow, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. So let me just take it back a hot second. So what inspired you to kind of get into this world of social media marketing, or like especially
Oh,
like helping entrepreneurs? Like what was the path or like the decision that kind of like brought you closer into this online business portal, is what I call it?
sure. So it's kind of two things. Number one, I've got a chronic illness, so I have something called ulcerative colitis, and recently I actually had to get my bowel taken out because it got so bad. But for the last 3 years, I've been really struggling trying to go into work. I was working in marketing, so I worked in the corporate world, just supporting creating marketing strategies for businesses, and it really worked. But I had to keep calling in sick. I had to keep letting people down. And even though the bosses were like, some bosses were okay with it, some people weren't okay with it. It was, but it got really hard calling in sick. And so I got so sick that I had to move home, with my mum. Even though I was working, I was still making money. Like I couldn't do anything anymore. And I decided to quit, let go. And this was in pandemic times actually. So even I had a redundancy that I was like fighting with. I had not redundancy, I had whatever that pay was called, we got in pandemic. I had that, and then I had to leave, and then I got sick. But it was all really confusing. Anyway, in the midst of all that, all my friends, people around me started their own businesses. Resin businesses were like popping off in 2020. Everyone were making like resin things or cupcake businesses. All my friends started having side businesses, and they started messaging me because they knew who I worked with before, and they were like, oh, can you check this Instagram caption for me? Oh, can you read this email that I've got going out? Oh, what do you think about MailChimp and all that kind of stuff? So it was all coming to me, and I was doing it from bed, like, oh yes, and my mum, yeah, it was my mum who said, Jess, you really should be charging for this stuff. Do you know that? You know that, right? And I was like, what do you mean? I was so oblivious to the online marketing world. It was like, the online business world was so out of my comfort zone until all my friends started their own businesses. And so it kind of happened from there, really. I started charging ridiculous, like 20 quid for an hour when I just talked to someone about something. And I was like, it can't just be my friends. Like there must be networks and places where all these small business owners hang out. And then I started tapping into these places and just networking a lot using Instagram. And I converted my personal page into a business page where I was just doing marketing tips because I was like, my friends keep asking me.
That's when you know it's real.
That's when you know it's real. When you change the bio.
When you end up putting a link in the bio, that's when you know that you're taking it seriously.
Yeah, exactly. When you buy the domain.
Yeah. I think that that's such an awesome story, and like, what a great reflection of like how much flexibility the internet gives us. Like truly, like that's why I call the online business world a portal, because it's one of those things where it's like you open the door and you see all of this potential and you're like, I can never unsee this. And like, how cool that we get to build a business in a way that feels good for us, in a way that works for our health and our lifestyle and our priorities and all of that stuff. But what I find, and especially with social media, because like we mentioned, like the door to entry is very easy for social media. It's not like, what I focus on mainly is SEO. You don't have to like learn about websites and copywriting and like everything that goes into SEO. Social media feels a little bit more low lift because like we're already kind of using it for personal and connecting. So then using it for business, it kind of feels like, oh yeah, I could totally do this. And so since it feels easy, I feel like people really start focusing on it, but very quickly they end up feeling the pressure to create content, to get sales, to get visibility. So an entrepreneur that's looking to use social media, how can they simplify their approach with creating an effective strategy, like without feeling stressed out? Like what are your tips about that?
Number one, don't quit your day job. So if you're new and you're thinking you've just started a business, but you've got a 9 to 5, don't leave it to get this going, because that's not a very sustainable strategy at all. Don't let that bag go away. I was in a position where I'd started my business from a place of privilege. I moved home with my mum. I had no rent. I had a bit of money coming in from the money that was like the COVID money was coming in. Like I was in a good place to be able to charge 20 quid an hour for this work that I was doing. But that's my first tip. Don't go all in. Start slowly. Start dripping it in. But if
that's
you are
not
in
advice
a place,
that's not advice that we hear most of the time. Like in terms of like social media hype marketing.
Oh,
It's
this
like
is what I hate it. I absolutely
can
hate
make
it.
$100,000 by posting one reel a month.
No, you can't. And there are exceptions to the rule. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure it's happened before. I'm sure people have done it. But in my experience working with this many business owners, none of my lot have done it. But they've all done it sustainably. I've got people that I've worked with that have made 40K in a month. People that I work with make 3K in a month. Like you can do it from social media marketing, but you got to make a strategy.
So how do we approach the strategy in like a simple way? Because like for me, like when obviously I'm not a social media strategist. So I'm like, I don't know, post like a reel a week is like, I don't know, like what I think of, you know what I mean? But like, I'm not a strategist in this arena.
Sure. So when you're first starting out, if you don't have the background, you will kind of think in numbers. To be sustainable, I can post one reel a week, or I'll post on Tuesday at 12 p.m. every Tuesday at 12 p.m. And that's an initial thought that comes to mind for a lot of people who are just starting out. But by doing that, you're not really deep diving into the what, the why, the how, the tracking. So and I hate this word because I think it's really overused. I think it's really glorified, but reverse engineer. You got to reverse engineer what's going on in your business. So let's say you've just started and you've got a product and you've got 10 items that you want to sell, and you want to sell out of the 10 by, let's say, the end of the month. You've given yourself 4 weeks to sell them, and you're doing that to hit a goal that you've created. Now, I don't want this goal to be I'm speaking in the beginning, so don't let this be the be all and end all of your livelihood. If you've got a low ticket product, it's something completely different. You can't expect to bundle up. But let's go back to strategy. So just saying I'm going to post 3 times a week isn't enough. You have to reverse engineer from the product, and then you have to understand your audience a little bit. So instead of saying I'm going to post educational stuff on Mondays, funny stuff on Tuesdays, and then edutainment on Fridays, I want you to look at your audience, think about people that are there and go, what do they want? What are they like? Where are they hanging out? Draw on things that are happening in their lives and speak their language to them. Get really, really specific with it. And if you want to make some sales in your business, the best way to do that for the smaller businesses is with social proof and reviews. So don't go into Canva and type the review out and make it look really pretty. Cut that out. Post a screenshot of what someone said to you. Post a screenshot, because when you posted that in that style, something in our brain psychology wise goes, oh, I know that. That's an Instagram DM. I know what that looks like. Oh, I must trust them. Build that trust with your audience. So I'd say one really important post per week is that trust building. You know what you're doing. You're the expert. They bought it, so you should buy it. Review style content. And then surrounding that, buffer that with content that is really speaking the same language as your target audience.
Yeah, I think
That makes sense.
especially, yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that like posting reviews, posting feedback, like some people feel that like it can be salesy. Like, oh, is this like too salesy if I'm like posting these screenshots for people? Like, what do you say if your client were to say that?
Expectations. Do you think a screenshot or a review is going to go viral for you? Maybe not. Unless you're one of the aesthetic marketing girlies who are posting screenshots of their own insights saying, I got this many views, like that. Some has the ability to go viral somehow.
Yeah.
But a screenshot of people telling you how much they love your product as a small business owner is not likely to get much engagement vanity metric wise, but they are the most likely to build trust and get a sale in quicker than most other content.
Yeah, I think it's like focusing on that trust building factor, because like we know this with marketing, right? It's like the know, like, trust. And so that's a piece of marketing that it's like, especially in social media, it's not like we're walking into a business, we're meeting the owner, we're shaking their hand, we're having a conversation. With social media, you have to build these relationships in a genuine, transparent, honest way, but you still have to build trust. And trust could even be seen as like even more important, but also a little harder to build online, because you don't get that in-person thing. You can't see the person having a conversation, looking at their facial features and watching their gestures and all of that. So I think that it's really great to post these things because you're help building trust with your people, as long as you're not BSing them. You know what I mean? Like it gets manipulative when it's like you're sending yourself a message about how great it is. And then it's like you're screenshotting. It's like, we don't want that, y'all. Like,
Yeah.
and also like, it doesn't have to be like, oh my gosh, I love this thing that I bought, because like maybe you haven't really had any sales yet, or you haven't had anything like that. What about questions? You know what I mean? Like posting questions that people have, that was like game changer for me, because I was like, well, I don't know. I feel like I could talk about anything. So it's like, how do we narrow it down and create social media content that's going to move the needle forward? So I'm not just posting quantity over quality, because if we want to simplify our approach to social media, we have to focus on the quality and not the quantity.
Yeah. Well, it's, in my experience, it can go both ways. So when we're posting, let's go back to FAQ style content, it can really help. The reason, if you're not getting many sales right now or you're really new, it's not because they can't afford it. It's not because they can't invest in you. It's because they have no idea what you're talking about. They don't know who you are. They don't know what you're saying. You're speaking a whole nother language. You've got to keep sharing information about your product or service so you can let someone have that informed decision. You're not making noise on their feed. You're just giving them all the information to know if it's right for them, because you've made this beautiful thing, right? Whether it be a coaching program, whether it be a jar of CMOS, like you've made this gorgeous thing. Your community have chosen to follow you because they're interested in it. You have to do your due diligence with your content to make sure they have all the information to see if it's the right purchase for them or not. Outside of grid content, I find if you can do some permission-based lead gen, and I hate using like these kind of words because I don't want to put barriers in. Let me try and explain it. So breaking it down, if you can also on Instagram do that on your stories as well. So just add FAQs to your stories and add a sticker that says like, tap here if you'd like me to send you even more information about it. That is a permission. That's the viewer giving you permission, and they're saying, yes, I am interested in this. I've tapped this. Please tell me more. And what you can do to double down on that, if you're still feeling really scared about DMing them, you can say, hello, name. You tapped that green heart in my story. So now I'm telling you, you asked me to tell you some more information. So here you go. And even if they say like, oh, I tapped that by accident, like you've said to them, oh, you tapped it. So that's why I'm sending this information.
Yeah.
That's quite fun.
Yeah. That's been really helpful for starting conversations with people. And so I do that too. Like in either my Instagram posts or in my stories, I'll be like, DM me if you want more information about this. And here's the thing about the DMs, they're private. So if you're new and nobody's DMing you yet, that's okay. You can still keep posting this in your stories, because you're kind of training your audience to be like, oh, I can DM her if I have a question, or I can DM her if I want more information. So like when I started posting that stuff, nobody was DMing me about nothing.
Oh, babe, listen, and I will tell you situation right now. What's happening in I'm doing a launch of a new, so I'm relaunching my group program right now, right? One of my calls to action today was click here or DM me or like book a call with me. No one's pressing that button today, and I know no one's pressing that button today. This is day 2 of my launch. But what I'm doing is I'm planting the seeds, and I'm inviting people to press the button. I'm telling them time and time again, like, you can do this. You have permission to do this. And it might take someone 2, 3, 5 times of seeing it. But why would I take that opportunity away from them if I only said about it once and it went away? This is the thing about social media compared to SEO marketing, which is SEO, you've got longevity. SEO, you've got some windfall behind you that might last years. Where with social media, you've got about 5 minutes on someone's screen and they forget about you. So you have to push it.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw this story by somebody else that I follow, and she's 32 weeks pregnant. And so she's pretty pregnant. Like she's been pregnant for a bit.
She be pregnant.
She be pregnant. And she was like, she'll post pictures of like her going for a walk, and you can see like her cute little bump and like whatever. And people were like, oh my gosh, you're pregnant? She was like, I have been talking about this for literally
Mm,
like the past 12 weeks. And she was like, but
yeah.
it's just a reminder, your people do not see everything that you post. And so it's like posting about like how you're helping people or just like your services or your offerings and like education around the topic, the niche that you want to be known in, whether you're a social media marketing strategist, an SEO strategist, or I have a client that like helps train puppies. It's like
Love.
you need to keep talking about that topic because people
Yeah.
are not seeing your posts all the time. But I remember when I first started, I was like, don't people get it? Like, don't people know that I talk about SEO? Aren't I going to stay top of mind? And it's like,
No.
no, dude, because we're so inundated with content all of the time. And also, it is social media is at some level a little bit more permission based because they get to choose to follow you. They
Yeah.
can absolutely unfollow you.
Oh
I
yeah,
just
please do.
yeah, exactly. And I think that that's so important to remember and remember that like this is your profile. This is your little sliver of the internet. You can talk about your zone of genius and puppy training or SEO like as much as you want to because people are following you for that. But like
Yeah.
don't be afraid to also share a little bit of personality too.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. People can get stuck in sharing their brand values over and over again because they think they can't because this is they've switched to a business page now, so it has to be all about the business. But people by people, and I know that's like so said 1,000 million times, but as I said before, you are not the only person who does what you do. There are so many different flavors of you out there on online doing the same thing, exact same thing as you. Oh my god, I can't tell you how many content strategists there are. I've had to mute them all. As my one of my hacks is just muting absolutely everyone who's got anything to do with marketing because I've got really really awful ego imposter syndrome. If I see someone else like launching their thing or selling a space or talk doing a trend, I'm like, oh, I must do that too. Like I have to say, I tell all
Yeah.
my friends who are marketers, I'm like, babes, I love you. I've had to block you because this is a personal problem. Please go kill it. Sell everything you need. Make your bag. I wish you the absolute best. I've not unfollowed you. I've just muted you because I can't deal.
It's not personal.
It's not personal. It's just business, and I can't. And it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think all of this is really helpful. And even just like real quick before I jump into the next question, but like in terms of consistency, it's something that we hear all of the time. And we've even said it like, you have to be consistent. You have to keep talking about your stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, even though it might sound like you're talking to a room of nobody at first, keep talking. You are building momentum and you cannot see how many people are coming over to you and like how many people are paying attention. You can't see that. So keep
Mm,
doing it. But like in terms of consistency, can we kind of like break that down? Like, because a lot of people assume that consistency means like posting every day.
they really do. Because they think consistency means posting every day, showing up the same time, the same place, talking about. That's why like brand messaging gets so like rinsed out, not for not for your audience, but for you. Like it's so hard, especially with the girls that I work with. They're very creative. A lot of them are neurodiverse. A lot of them have chronic illnesses. Consistency can feel really far away. And if you don't show up the next day, let's say you're posting every day because for some reason you've challenged yourself to do that, and one day you fall off it, they'll fob the whole thing. So it's really British thing. They'll like let go of the whole thing, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I didn't post that one time, so I'm not going to post it anymore." Putting that pressure on yourself as a business it's too much. But on the same side of it, yes, you need to show up, you need to post about your stuff, but you need to make a deal with yourself and say, what can I do? So this is a challenge that I give to people that I do this challenge quite often in my membership, the Content Club. If you are in this place where you're like, I just don't know what to post, I'm not showing up, I don't know what to do, I'm like, we got to rip that band-aid off. And I set a challenge of posting absolutely every day. You choose your medium, grid, Instagram story, TikTok. I don't care where you do it. We're going to post every day for 30 days. And then there's a forfeit if you don't post. So the forfeit is you've got to post a picture of your favorite animal with no context. on that chosen medium. It could be a fluffy otter, it could be a bunny. Just like your audience will be like, why is she posted like 5 bunnies this month? But you'll be remembered as the bunny girl. But doing that kind of, you need, gets your marketing chops going and gets you out of that place of, I don't know what to post, I don't know why I'm posting it. I just want you to get into flow of, oh, I like posting, oh, I can do this. And each post, it can't just be random, it can't just be like a thumbs up smiley face to you. It has to be something that is moving the needle in the business, whether that's asking for people to vote on your poll, whether that's doing calls to action. It has to be something that makes sense for your business. And once you've got to the end of that 30-day challenge, you can look back on it and be like, do you know what? I've learned that I love posting every day, and that's something that's really great for me. Or you could be like, I've learned that I really like doing this style of content, and I think I can keep that up 3 times a week. I'm not going to lie, it might take you like a year to find out where your cozy spot of consistency is on social media, but it's all about testing and testing and testing.
Yeah, I think that that's so important. And like, what a great reminder that it's like what works for somebody else isn't going to necessarily work for you. And in order to figure out what works for you, I'm sorry, y'all, but like, we got to experiment. Like,
we got to work.
Yes.
We got to work.
Yes, exactly. We have to experiment, and we really have to like self-reflect and see like what works for us. And like I said in the beginning here, like I sometimes post a reel a week. I don't do it every single week. Sometimes I'm like, I'm busy, I don't really feel like it, whatever. But I also have other forms of marketing supporting me. So I have a YouTube channel, I have SEO. And so it's like, if your only channel is Instagram or TikTok, you have to be on there. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent with that, but like also permission to redefine what consistency means for you, because like it can mean so many different things. What feels good? And then if you, like you said, fall off of like your consistency routine, it's fine. It's totally fine. Just get back on the bandwagon. It's not as big of a deal as like our egos and like as we make it seem, because we're like, oh man, our audience is gonna know. They're gonna know that I didn't post for 3 days.
Oh, they won't know. Yeah, you don't need to tell people, sorry, I wasn't here for. Sorry, I haven't been here for a week. They'll be like, you where? I didn't know you left.
Yes, exactly. So just a reminder to allow yourself to take the pressure off. Even if social media is your only marketing lane right now, you can still take the pressure off of that. But I do want to spend some time talking about content pillars, because I think that this is how I found you on Instagram. You created a reel basically talking about ditching content pillars, which I personally love, because content pillars have always been like super restrictive to me. And it takes the play and it takes the fun out of social media. And then I don't want to show up, and then I'm resenting my content, and then my content doesn't do well because my audience can feel my resentment. So like, talk to me about content pillars, because most marketing people are like, the first thing you need to get your messaging, and then you need your content pillars. So like, what's your approach to content pillars?
So when I when I worked in marketing online, in corporate, the content pillars wasn't a word. My boss wasn't like, Jess, go, I want you to come back with all the content around the content pillars and post it, make it beautiful. Never. It was never about that. So when I came into the online space and I was seeing all these crazy words popping up, like content pillars and buckets and, hang on one second. Alexa, thank you. Just telling me to eat something. Hack. That's a hack I've got for you guys.
Beautiful reminder.
Yeah. But it wasn't a thing. So when I came into the online business world, I was like, oh, actually, maybe it is a thing. My ego, imposter syndrome, shiny object syndrome wants to coming in. I have to do content pillars because that's what it takes to do an online business. And so I put myself in there. I was doing them for myself. And I even, in the beginning, started talking about them with my clients. And slowly I found out as I was using them, and I was like, do you know what? This is so restrictive. I feel like I'm stuck in this cycle. And as you said, like, I'm not having fun with my content anymore. I can't like be funny on demand. It's kind of like asking myself to be a dancing monkey every Tuesday. Do a trend, be funny. You got to be funny on Tuesdays. And it doesn't work. especially if you're a business of one, because as much as people can say you should batch your content, batching content is key. And I agree, it's good to a certain extent. But when you're a business of one, you will often find yourself intuitively posting or having to post something on the day.
Yes.
It's just the way it goes.
Yes.
It's just part of the play. And people that say otherwise, I believe, are lying, and they are glorifying this industry to it's Instagram versus reality kind
Or
of
they
thing.
have a team. Like if you have a team,
Or
then
they've
like
got a team.
batching and scheduling and all of that. But like me as a solo person and like, you know, transparency, I do have a video editor for YouTube and a bookkeeper, but I don't have anybody that creates content or like helps me with admin or like a virtual assistant in that arena. So when it comes to social media, it's often intuitive, but I think that I can do it intuitively because I've been in business for 8 years. I know my people. I know
There
what
you
I'm
go.
saying. I know what I'm selling. So that's what
So,
makes it a little easier.
yeah, content pillars can, on one side, help you if you just you want something, you want that strict schedule, you want to be posted, you want to be consistent, but they're not the be all and end all of consistency. What can really help you is if you define who your audience is. You find some phrases that they like, you look at the content you've already posted, and you get that data, and you can say, oh, this kind of posted really well for me, let me go deeper on that, let me talk about that again. If you Google content pillars, you'll find thousands of resources telling you why they're so amazing, why you can use them. And if they work for you, they work for you. But what I've found for me and for my clients, they just don't work. So instead, what we do is we create our target audience. We talk about what they need, what they want, and we just continue posting content around that instead.
Yeah, it just allows you to kind of flow in between things versus like, oh, I haven't posted a how-to content or a how-to piece of content in 2 weeks. This is what I need to post, even though
If I see
your
the words
intuition
how and to one more time,
and it's like
swear to God.
your intuition is really craving you to talk about maybe a comparison or maybe a more personal story or maybe a client story. And it's like, so when you're only focused on these content pillars, it can be really limiting to your intuition and like what you're seeing from your clients. Because what I found has been really helpful is like, I have like a running note in my phone. And so like I get the best ideas when I'm going for a walk or when I get out of the shower and I like have to grab my phone and I write down these ideas in a note and I'm like, okay, these are for when I'm like really needing something. So it's like something to fall back on, I find is super helpful. Or like if you're going through something with a client and you're like, okay, you know what? I think that my audience would really like this. I think that it would be super, super helpful.
Yeah. I love that. That's so great. I've got a running note on my phone as well. But what I also do is client-based, service-based. It's a bit different, product-based, girlies. But I look back on meeting notes from all of my client work, and I bring that up in content as well.
Yeah, that's super smart. That's super smart. Okay, one last question here. In terms of like simplifying social media marketing strategy, reducing the stress, repurposing is a thing that can be really, really helpful. Do you have any tips on like repurposing?
You can get so overwhelmed by repurposing because the word is associated with putting it on every platform. It can get like, oh, but then I have to change the shape of it, and then I have to make it a video, and I have to repurpose it, and then I have to do this and I have to do that. So I feel like there's already such stress around that word. The way in the beginning, I would just do one repurposing strategy, and that's looking at your most popular content, your superstars, the posts that have done really well for you, and that's not having gone viral. Perhaps that, oh, this post got 5 saves. Oh, wow, that's more saves than I usually get. I should talk about this again. When you're having a low energy day and you want to post something, but you haven't got it in you, post that one again. Post that one again. Repurpose it again and again and again. Yes, there is. So I've got a client right now who has a team. They've got me. She's got her VA, and we're using a software called Cloud Campaign. And what she does is she'll post her TikToks automatically go to Instagram straight away. And she's managed to passively get 2 clients from Instagram without even thinking about it because she's using a software that repurposes for her. Now she's able to do that because she's got the time and she's got the investment and she's got the team support to have that system going. But if you're DIYing it, that might be quite low on your list. So I'd say repurposing is great, but there's no, don't stress yourself too much out about having to do it. Focus on the content that you've posted that has done really well, and just keep that in your bank of content that you can repost when you want to
Repost it.
post. Yeah.
Repost it. Like,
Yeah.
especially if there's like a juicy post that like you really hit out of the park. It's like, well, if you posted it 2 months ago, you can repost it. Nobody
Yeah.
cares. In our head, we're like, no, we can't. People are going to know that I reposted. Who cares? If it's a
And no
solid
one
piece of content,
knows. I saw
people are
someone
going
post the
to.
same thing in the 1 week.
Exactly. I've seen people post like a carousel and then the exact same information in a reel literally a day later.
Yeah.
Nobody, like, we have to take, I think where a lot of the stress comes from is as business owners, it comes from ourselves. And so I think like all of these tips that we shared and everything that we went through, it's been really helpful. So I appreciate you coming on, having a conversation, letting people in on these tips, on these examples and like client examples. It's just such a beautiful reminder that like we truly can grow our business in a way that feels good for us. But I think that the underlying current is like we have to be willing to experiment and self-reflect and like what does feel good for you, and then allow all of the other things to kind of fall away. But before we close out, I do want you to share about what you have going on right now, because I think that it's an amazing option for people looking to dive deeper into social media marketing and like content strategy and stuff. So do you just want to talk about it for a sec?
Yes. If all of this sounds like, oh, that's me. Oh, I want that. Oh, I need to be consistent. I don't know how to do it. Then I think you should check out the Content Circle. It's my tried and tested 6-month group program where you and 10 other small business owners will be with me for 6 months, and we will create a content strategy that works for you. It's 6 months because it takes a while to get this stuff done. I don't promise overnight results. I rarely do power hours because it's deep work that you have to do in order to get your content going and off the ground and find a really sustainable strategy that works for you. So if that sounds good, I would love to see you inside the Content Circle. And you can just, if you've got questions and like my landing page isn't good enough, come in the DMs, book a call with me. I'm here if you want to chat about anything.
Awesome. Okay. So we put the link to that on the screen right now. So jessicabruno.co.uk/the content circle. That link is also going to be in the video description below. So definitely check that out. Jess, thank you so much for coming on. This was such a joy.
I've had so much fun. Thank you.
Yay, absolutely. Okay, so before we close out here, remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Liking the video, it truly does go a really long way. And remember, if you are looking for a contract, definitely check out the contract shop, because you can get 20% off any contracts. You can head over to mariahmagazine.com/contracts. You can use the code Mariah Magazine, 20% off your next contract. You can check out my personal favorite contracts over here. But I think that that is it. So until next time, remember that you get to grow your online business in a way that works for you. Keep testing, keep tweaking, keep experimenting, and I will see you in the next live. Bye.